Hallo und herzlich willkommen bei einer neuen Folge vom Dream Do Live Podcast. Schön, dass du eingeschaltet hast. Diese Folge, wie du hörst, bin ich wieder mal erkältet. Dieses Jahr hat es wirklich in sich. Alle paar Tage oder alle paar Wochen bin ich immer wieder erkältet. Aber zu dieser Folge, das ist eine ganz besondere Folge. Ich habe sie nämlich aufgenommen, gerade als ich meinen Podcast gestartet habe im August. Nämlich noch auf der schönen Insel Bali. Und da habe ich eine wundervolle Frau getroffen im Rahmen eines Woman Circles, also eines Frauenzirkels. Was ist denn bitte ein Frauenzirkel? Möchtest du mich jetzt vielleicht fragen? Ein Woman Circle ist eine Runde von Frauen, die sich zusammentun und dieser Zirkel ist immer angeleitet von einer Frau und man setzt sich eine Intention für diesen Zirkel und rund um diese Intention herum wird dann geteilt, es wird getanzt, es wird meditiert und man öffnet sich so ein bisschen rund um diese Intention herum. Man öffnet sich auch den Problemen, die man hat, rund um diese Intention herum. Also wir beide zum Beispiel haben uns getroffen bei einem Circle, da ging es um das Sakralchakra, also unser Fruchtbarkeitsbereich und das war ganz spannend. Nimisha Gandhi, jetzt zu der Interviewfrau, also die ich jetzt interviewen werde. Nimisha Gandhi ist Expertin für funktionelle Medizin, ayurvedische Beraterin, Yoga-Nidra-Lehrerin und ehemalige Tech-Gründerin im Silicon Valley. Und sie ist in den USA bekannt für ihre Arbeit und ihre Leidenschaft für die Gesundheit von Frauen. Nimishas Praxis ist in San Francisco, nennt sich Moon Cycle Nutrition. Und in ihrer Praxis spezialisiert sie sich auf Fruchtbarkeit, Schwangerschaft und postnatale Pflege. Sie kombiniert quasi funktionale medizinische Ernährung mit alten ayurvedischen Prinzipien, um ihren Klienten zu helfen, persönliche Ess- und damit auch Lebenspläne für sich zu entwickeln und ihren intuitiven inneren Heiler in sich zu wecken. Und mit Nimisha unterhalten wir uns heute über, wie unsere Periode, wie der Mond und die Erde uns Menschen, vor allem aber uns Frauen, in unserem täglichen Leben beeinflussen, wie wir, wenn wir genau wissen, wie wir sind, ganzheitlich unser Leben auch gestalten können, so dass wir besser im Flow sind, anhand vom Mondzyklus, anhand von unserer Ernährung, anhand von unserem weiblichen Zyklus auch. Und ja, ich wünsche dir viel Spaß bei der Folge und vielen Dank fürs Einschalten.
Hi, Nimisha. Thank you for taking the time today to come into the podcast. So you are a moon nutritionist and female and teen nutritionist. Tell us about what you do and what your clients come to you and where you help them.
So yes, my practice is called Moon Cycle Nutrition, and I am a functional medicine and Ayurvedic nutritionist. So I've been in practice for about 16 years. I don't know, I'm losing count of actual years. Wow. Yeah. So I have this clinical research pre-med background, and then I studied Ayurveda and then holistic nutrition and functional medicine, and I also teach Yoga Nidra, which is a form of meditation. Amazing. And my majority of my clients come to me for balancing their hormones or addressing any issues related to their periods, their moons, and also for fertility. So I see a lot of women who are struggling to get pregnant and or are just thinking about getting pregnant and they want to get healthy and have the most optimal pregnancy. I also see teens because teens are increasingly starting their periods sooner, and they're more painful than they've ever been. And and we can get into the whys of that. But so I see a lot of teens and parents trying to address their teens without putting them on birth control, because majority of the people who are on birth control for symptom management, not really to prevent pregnancy. So it's like, oh, I have cramps, and and so that's the majority of my practice, and a lot of gut health issues, so digestive, microbiome, things like that. Yeah.
Amazing, thank you. So would you say for people who are like at the moment emotionally feeling unstable or unhappy, I mean, it's proven that nutrition helps with your mood and everything. What would you suggest for people having like issues with happiness and with stability and bouncing back to balance? Do you have some good advice you can share?
First of all, it depends on how severe the symptoms are. It's completely normal to feel sad or, not so energetic sometimes, especially for women. And if you don't mind, can I just get into the moon part of it to address your question?
Of course. The period has so much to do with our mood, and it's so mystified and it's so like stigmatized. So please go on. Thank you.
All right. So, and I will answer your question. I promise. So I just want to say, we women, we are connected to the earth so much, and this might sound woo-woo, but I'll get there. And so there are 4 phases of the moon every month. There are 4 seasons to a year, and all right. And so there are 4 seasons to the year, 4 cycles of the moon, 4 phases of the moon every month, and every woman has 4 phases in her monthly cycle. And so every time we think about our period, we only think about the bleeding phase, like, oh, I'm bleeding. And sometimes we'll think about like the ovulation phase, especially for actively trying not to get pregnant or trying to get pregnant. Yes. So, but we have 4 phases. Our moon cycle, and I call it moon cycle because we used to be tied to the moon. Before the introduction of lights and everything, most women bled at the same time at the new moon, and our bodies are a majority of a water body, right? And the moon controls the tides of the water. Yes. So it has an effect on us. But with, in the recent 150 years, with the introduction of light bulbs, and then especially in the last 20 years with these really strong blue lights from our screens and our phones, our hormones and our cycles have been really disturbed. So we know most people no longer bleed with the moon, and it sounds like, what? New moon, I'm supposed to bleed. It doesn't work out always for women, so I say don't stress about that. But it does. It's really beautiful to call it your moon instead of your period.
Yes.
It just feels nicer. It feels less like, I don't know, harsh. And so, anyways, I'm like going everywhere. But so we have these 4 cycles. And so let's say days 1 through 7, and every woman is different. Some women could be 4 days, 3 days is our menstrual cycle. It's where we are actively bleeding. And then it's also, then we get into the follicular phase. And I like to say this is the springtime of your phase. You have just stopped bleeding. You have way more energy. Think about what happens in the spring. The tiny little seeds that you planted in the winter, they start to bloom, right? Yeah. And so that's exactly what's kind of happening in your body. Yeah. Your hormones are starting to rise again. Things are just feeling good. This is when you want to go try out a new workout, like maybe you'll go running on the beach or do some heavy lifting, make new friends, go on a new date, because you just feel this newness and more confidence and energy come out. And then you get into the ovulation phase, which can be like day 14 of your cycle, and ovulation only happens on one day, but you can get pregnant 5 days before you ovulate and 1 day after. And that's because your body secretes hormone, mucus that traps the sperm to get you pregnant. So just knowing that there are only about 5 to 6 days out of your total cycle that you can get pregnant will help you, make the right choices for when it comes to contraceptions. And that gives you more power and more power over your body, just knowing that. And so then at your ovulation, I like to call this like the CEO of your phase. This is like the boss babe of your phase. Like you're just these 5 to 6 days, you're just like, whoo, like, yes, you're going to go up to your boss and ask for that promotion. You're going to go to your partner and say, I need you to take out the trash, without getting into a fight. Or you're going to tell your mom, like, there's just certain things you can't talk to me about. You're really good. What I'm saying is that at this time, you're really good at setting boundaries.
Wow, I like this. And I think a lot of women are not so good in setting boundaries and saying no.
Yes.
So do you have a tip
So I like to say one thing I do in my practice is help women design their life with their cycle, because you have in your cycle, you have periods when, again, energetically you're low, your mood is low, you're just not as confident, right? You're like, I don't feel good. And then you get to this boss babe phase and you're like, I can conquer the world. I look good. My speech is like, like I'm more eloquent. I can set boundaries. So this is a really good time. So, if you are wanting to manifest something, like let's say a promotion or turning down a project at work, or, asking your partner about something really difficult, this is a really good time to do it. So look at your moon cycle and say, hey, you know what? I feel like this is when I'm going to get maybe less emotional, but more eloquent and more verbal and confident. And so I can achieve my goals. So kind of just looking at where you are and how you're feeling to kind of go for what you want. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's interesting because all of these female energies and the female attributes have been made weak by the, let's say, more male or oriented society, like business or businesses are run with masculine energy, which is good because it's straightforward and it not so chaotic, and we females are also part of it. But having in mind your cycle and that you're still part of this nature, and with that in mind still conquering the let's say the real world, that's a good thing. So do you have any examples or any clients where you're really proud of as how this kind of changed their lives, just to have the people see that there's truth to your story?
Yeah, I don't have one client in mind. I have almost every client in mind because, again, going back to we live in a patriarchal society. We live in a society where it's like we're supposed to be working 24/7, especially in the US and Germany. It's very masculine, very macho, and we're seen as weak because we get our periods. Or even if we start coughing, it's like, oh, she's getting sick. But if a man starts coughing, it's like, oh, you go rest so then you can, do well on this presentation. We see it over and over again. So what I want to tell women is that once you start honoring your moon cycles and knowing, when you're going to be your strongest, use that to your advantage, and it may be difficult if you're the only woman in the company or you're the only woman who's exploring her moon cycles, her phases in this way. But if you can band together with other women, it makes it stronger and easier for you to say, hey, you know what? I can actually take on more projects. And so what I've seen with women in my own clients and myself personally is just that when I take the 4 days, actually I don't even need 4 days, but some women do, and I encourage to take as many days as you need when you're bleeding, to take that time to be slower and But then it's like when I do that, I can come back so much stronger. I can actually accomplish so much more when I'm in my spring phase and my summer phase of the cycle. You know, I get more done and I don't feel the lethargy. And then I have this like peak, right? And that's when you have your peak with your hormones too. And then you start going down, and I honor that. So again, I stop taking on more projects, you know, even making travel easier. How many times do we go travel, but then we're exhausted when we get to our destination, or our luggage is lost, or you miss your flight? And, you know, kind of cycle that. Like, you know, did you plan your flight in your strongest phase or your more quiet phase? You know, I always lose my keys close to my period. I just can't remember. I just like, where did I put my keys? And you know, there's a scientific reason. You know, our blood flows differently to our brain and to our gut and to our reproductive organs during closer to our period than it does at other times, and it does cause us to be more forgetful. So you know, just paying attention to things like that. I've had women create kind of like a manifesto or a woman festo, like I like to say. Like, you know, you always tend to get fights with your partner closer to your period. Okay. But if you write down what you need closer to your period, it's like, okay, during weeks, you know, like let's say August 18th through August 25th, that is when I need you to take out the trash without me asking you. That is when maybe your clothes are always in the laundry basket. Maybe this is when you don't pick a fight with me because I'm more vulnerable, I'm more sensitive, I'm more connected to my body, you know? And then it actually can really make the relationship easier. I've had to call my mom and say, hey, Mom, you know, when I'm close to my period, don't talk to me about family drama. It just upsets me more, you know? And that just set a really nice boundary. Yeah.
So being aware of your cycle and just having that awareness makes your life more happy. And just that one more, it's a really good factor. Yeah. Yeah. I really like that. So looking at women that are now like in a corporate world and where maybe you don't really talk with other women about your periods, or maybe you're close, but I guess more in a corporate world. I never talk with my colleagues about my period, my moon. Do you have some, I don't know, self-help tips or online on your homepage or?
Not yet. I write a lot of blog posts and for other people, and on my Instagram I write a lot there.
I will link it in the show notes.
Yes, I write articles, and then my Instagram is very active in information and on Facebook. So, and I do a lot of live workshops, and so I don't have one in Germany yet. But if you catch me somewhere, I will. I have workshops, and then I see people virtually online. I have different ways to talk to women, you know, so I can actually see anyone from around the world if they wanted to have an appointment with me. Yeah, so that's
okay. Thank you. I knew you were working in a tech startup, and before you became a nutritionist and a female moon expert, you went down the path, or you went up the path of not very female world. And still, I don't think we need to change that world so much. I think we just need to honor it, more awareness, put more awareness. I think we females shouldn't have to talk alone. We should actually engage the men as well. And I think it's a pity that men don't have a period, actually, or a moon or something, because I think men are so often so disconnected. So do you also have some advice for men?
Yes. So just one second, going back to the women. Yeah, even if you don't have other women working in your company, I was a CEO of a tech gaming company, very masculine. But I was
gaming company.
I know,
Wow.
very masculine in San Francisco, and it was really out of alignment with me, but I also didn't have other women to talk to. I was, my investors, co-founders, everyone was a man. And so I was really out of alignment, and I got really sick, and it just didn't serve me. And I think that's what happens to a lot of women. But I'm not saying quit your corporate job. If you love it and it works for you, how you can make it work is by internally honoring your moon cycle, eating right. I didn't even mention the food yet, but yeah, like different phases, like, eat a little more carbohydrates during closer to your period, because that's what your body actually needs, and a little more fermented food in the beginning of your cycle, and maybe more grounding foods during your period. And all those things can actually help you, your periods do not need to be painful. Once I really learned about my moon cycles, I don't even know when I'm getting my period if I didn't keep chart, because my breasts don't get sore, I don't get acne. The only thing is my lower back slightly starts hurting the day before, and I get a little more tired, but I don't get those symptoms, not anymore. Before, you couldn't even touch my breast 7 days before, and I think that's the credit to nutrition and living my life in alignment. And then with men, I really would like men to start honoring their own phases. They don't have a big cyclical change like we do, right? But men do experience change. They're just not tapping into it. They're not tuned into it, right? We say that they're supposed to be steady like this, but even if you take their blood monthly, daily, you'll see that they have little peaks and waves. And so if men started saying, hey, I'm feeling a little less energetic today, I'm going to honor that. If men just started doing that, or men said, hey, today I am feeling a little more emotional. They may not feel like how women do. Women, we express ourselves through our body and the feminine, but men may not. And men have been for centuries and thousands of years been taught to stand, be like a rock, just very sturdy, but it's not true. And so if more men started just saying, hey, you know what, today is this kind of day for me, I will honor it, maybe they'll start honoring women too. And I think having a positive relationship with the females around you, whether it's your mother, your sister, your wife, partner, whoever it is, I think that can help. With me, yesterday was my 10-year wedding anniversary.
Oh, wow. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you. But it's been a journey, to make it to 10 years. There are lots of times I didn't think, and we would get into these intense emotional fights. And it was only recently where I told him, I was like, please don't call me the B word during close to my period, or say, oh, thank God you're on your period, that you're not going to be so moody anymore. And I'm like, I told him, I was like, it's not that I'm moody, it's that I have less tolerance for BS, and my intuitive power is higher, and I need you to honor that. I need you to give me space. And it clicked, but it took me so many years to say that to him. And I think if we had more positive relationships, if you're a mother of a son, raise your son with awareness about your period. I grew up Indian. I grew up in a culture where you hide away the blood. Traditionally you go away, when you get your period. And with my son, it's different. I let him know that I'm bleeding. He's 5, and he goes, oh, okay. He doesn't quite understand, why are you, the anatomy, but he goes, okay. And I told him, I was like, when mommy is on her period, you need to be a little bit nicer. Mommy's not going to carry you everywhere, because my back hurts. And he honored it. And yesterday, He just gathered up all these flowers and he gave it to me, and he was like, just to make you feel better, you know? So if we can raise our sons that way, just be more open with them from the beginning instead of shutting it away and say, oh, that's dirty, or they don't need to know that, then I think it'll start changing the world.
So for men, I mean, of course, they also get affected by the moon? And if yes or if no, how do men learn to better feel into their thing? I know you're a female expert. I know there's a lot of things for females out there, and there's not so much for men out there. If you do have anything about that, I guess that would also be helpful for the females out there trying to put their guys be more aware of. Because, for example, my boyfriend, he's very sensitive, but he would never admit that, you know, although he notices when I'm changing personally, he notices when my smell changes, you know. I don't even notice that, and he's like, have you been experiencing some personal changes? He smells so different. And I like it about him.
Wow, what an intuitive guy. Seems like he's already in touch. Yes, men do experience changes. I just don't know how much or to what level. But I do want to say, because I work with infertility, and fertility is declining not just in women, but in men and their sperm. And their sperm is completely changing. It's declining, and the shape and quality of it, and that's the seed of a man, right? Like that's his divine masculine, and so if that is changing, then it's because men overall are not taking care of themselves. So what I have to say to men, regardless of the moon or the sun, and maybe the sun has more of an effect on men than women, you know, because the sun is more masculine. But I don't know. But what I have to say is that nutrition, please, men, start taking care of yourselves. Like when women come to me, more women go see, they're more likely to go get a massage. They're more likely to go, get acupuncture or some kind of treatment, right? Men don't go to the doctor. They don't even admit they're sick. So first of all, admit if you're not feeling well, and start taking care of yourself. Like get proper nutrition in for yourself. Start nourishing how that seed is going to affect you. Even if you don't want to ever get pregnant, if your sperm your sperm is not healthy, that means you're not healthy, right? It's an indication of health. Even for women, if you don't ever want to get pregnant, you still want to have a healthy, fertile period, because it's actually a fifth vital sign. It's which now is medically recognized. So you know how when you go to the doctor, they take your blood pressure, your temperature, your pulse, all of that indicates to the doctor if you're healthy. Now doctors are required to ask for a woman's around her period, because it's also indication of her health. It determines heart disease, cancer, all of these other things, and so again, it's not being explored as much as men, but I can deduce that it probably has a lot of indications, so just start taking care of yourself with the basics. Don't hold it in. If you have something that's bothering you, write it out, talk to someone, eat well, go for a walk, spend time in nature. Things like that.
Nice. So with women, back to the women again. So I was thinking, when women take care of themselves, how would you, I know I don't want to dig into this Ayurvedic thing, because that's another box, and I think that would be a whole new episode, but maybe you can just touch on that a little bit. And
so Ayurveda is it's over 5,000 years old. A lot of different medicine forms came from Ayurveda, like Chinese medicine and modern medicine. And the beautiful thing about Ayurveda is that it honors the individual. It's about it's not about generalized medicine. It's not about a raw salad is good for everyone. A raw vegan food is good for everyone. It honors that everyone has different genetic types, different blood types, different nutrient levels in their body, and that not everyone needs to be 100% at everything. You know, some people will be just perfectly fine if their nutrient levels are at 80% compared to the standard or something. So that's what's beautiful about Ayurveda. So
I like the idea that nobody has to be at 100% to be good.
yes, everyone has their own threshold and their own optimal levels. And food is different for everyone. Sleep is different for everyone. So not everyone needs to sleep 8 hours or 9 hours. Some people can sleep 7 hours and be perfectly healthy and rested. But some people need 9 or 10 hours to feel that. And we should honor it instead of shaming one another, right? And
I like the idea. Yeah, I like that everybody is individual and that you don't need to be like 100% to be feeling good and to be good.
And Ayurveda also honors different looks, like physical looks, you know, like so in society we honor glowing skin and thick, long hair, but that's only one type of person, one type of attribute, you know, the kapha type, but some women can have thin curly hair and reddish skin, and that's also beautiful and that's individual. It's not this industrial standard. Yeah, and so Ayurveda approaches health on that level.
Thank you. I think we should have another interview on the Ayurveda and the types, and maybe there's also more for men in there. So we just touched a little bit on your past and your career path, and that you have been a tech company CEO, which I think is impressive. So if you would sum up your life and looking back, what were the 3 most important takeaways that have really shaped who you are today and that you are carrying in your heart, and that you would like people to also think about and maybe see a way how to integrate it, or at least think about how that works for them? That's like always my final question.
Okay. Let's see, 3. 1 is intuition. I would say all 3 are intuition. I think we are all born as very intuitive people. I have a 5-year-old son, and I even see how connected he is to his body, and I think we all are, but because of society and parenting and just life, we start ignoring ourselves, right? You know, we start ignoring our hunger cues, our passions, everything, just so we could achieve this one goal or fit this one cycle. And I've noticed that every time I denied my intuition, that gut feeling, whatever that's my heart is truly saying, I've either gotten sick, I've gotten a car accident, I've been in really sketchy situations, you know, because I didn't honor myself or listen to myself. And so even my career path was a little windy, you know, like I started off going to study medicine, and then I was like, listened to myself and I said, this is not the right path for me. I'm not feeling like I'm going to be a doctor. I don't want to be a doctor. And then I want to be more a nutritionist. And that was my first, that was like me listening to my intuition. But then I got carried away and started this company that was not really in alignment with what I really wanted, and then I came back around. So again, coming back to my intuition, women and men, when you start dating, is that person right for you? How do they make you feel? You know, are your shoulders up? Are you clenched? How do you really feel with this person? So listening to your intuition has been the most vital lesson in my life.
I always preach that, actually, that our intuition comes from our body, and we think that our mind is everything and we need to fit into a box instead of allowing us to experience the wonder our body brings to us and the bliss and the joy. So thank you. It's a good takeaway.
Yeah, we didn't touch this at all, but there's a real thing called the gut-brain connection, and actually a lot of our information comes more from our gut to our brain, and then to our, we always think everything comes from our brain, but when you get that butterflies in your stomach, that's your body actually telling you from your microbiome like what's going on. So yes, let's honor that. The other one is honoring my femaleness, my feminine, because I did try to, like everyone else probably, like try to be really like fit into this macho world, and that caused me to be more sick and sick, like I would just not feel good or whatever. So that has been another defining factor in my life, just honoring my femininity. Yeah. Third, I don't know, I guess to find pleasure in everything and gratitude, that has really shifted everything for me. Even in the worst situations, if I could just say, hey, this is not so bad, or or just being grateful for my life, even when things are pretty rock bottom, has really helped.
Amazing. Yeah, I like sometimes you just need to let go and be that situation, be part of you and integrate it somehow, because I think that everything that's shitty also belongs to me, and I don't want to push it away. It's just part of me evolving to whatever or whoever I need to be, and just getting that push from the universe to make me see what I needed to see. So that's also part of the journey. I really like that. So you said we didn't touch on this gut-brain connection. Do you want to touch on it? Okay. Yeah? Sure. Okay, I think I love these things. Yeah.
I could be here all day talking about the gut-brain connection.
Is there also a heart-brain connection?
There's a heart-brain connection. No, there's a gut-heart-brain connection. There's a eye-gut connection. There's a reproductive organ gut-brain connection. So science is so fascinating, right? Like, again, going back to Ayurveda had all this planned out, but they didn't have microscopes to say, oh, there are these these microbiome, just these bacteria governing a lot of things. So the gut, let's just focus on the gut brain. So our gut has about, I don't know, trillions of bacteria. And scientists are calling our gut our second brain, or another endocrine system. And it weighs a little more than our brain. And so all these little bacteria that are living in harmony with us, and they are giving information to the rest of our body. So more than 70% of our immune system comes from our gut. Our happiness comes from our gut. And so when we feed it the right things, like healthy fats, like avocados, olives, even certain saturated fats, that makes our gut really happy. It makes our brain really happy. And then there's this vagus nerve where it's communicating to our brain about what's happening in our body. And then our brain is also signaling to the rest of our body on how to react or perceive. So that's like the 30-second gist. But what it's telling us is that we need to nourish ourselves super well. Meditating has a profound effect on these bacteria that then has an effect on our brain. Eating, again, clean foods, like minimally processed, minimal sugar, trans fats, but like more like freshly cooked. And I'm not saying vegan or paleo, or I'm not saying what's healthy. I will tell you what's unhealthy is that, industrial seed oils like canola, vegetable oils are really unhealthy. What's really unhealthy is all the sugar in our food. White flour is unhealthy, processed white flour is unhealthy, but not fermented, like sourdough is not unhealthy, So going back to how your ancestors ate, like in Germany, sauerkraut, eat up that sauerkraut. It's so good for your gut, you know, like
There's a lot of it everywhere.
yeah, fermented pickled food, sour, like anything that's traditional. Eat traditional food because our body loves that. Our body doesn't love things that were invented in a lab, you know. Yeah.
They taste so good though.
Enjoy it, but don't make it your main meal.
I like that. So if you want, you can add something to this gut-brain connection. If you say there's something really important, or the heart-brain, gut-heart-brain, I don't know. Do you?
Yeah, what else do I want to say about it? It's like going back to your intuition, listen to what your body's telling you, you know, your heart's beating fast, beating slow, do you have a smile on your face, like things like that. That's a really good connection to your body. The gut brain, what else is that, you know, if we're feeling really sad or really unhappy, maybe you need more fats in your diet. If you're not getting your period, maybe more fats in your diet. And it will change your mood, and it will change your microbiome, your gut. And so keep it happy, do belly massages. All of these things help. Yeah.
Nice. So eat healthy. Take care of your body through being aware of your body, being mindful with your body. I guess we also breathe very flat, so we don't breathe really properly. That's like maybe the first step of all the steps, like how am I breathing at the moment? Thank you. You have anything to add?
No, I just, you know, again, I love that we met in Bali. I love that this magic of women coming together in a circle. So thank you for sitting and having chai with me. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
Und wenn du bis hierhin dran geblieben bist, vielen lieben Dank fürs Einschalten. Es würde mich sehr freuen, wenn du diesen Podcast abonnierst und ihn bewertest. Und falls dich interessiert, was Nimisha noch so macht, ihr Instagram-Profil werde ich dir in den Shownotes verlinken. Und falls dich interessiert, was ich so mache, findest du mein Instagram-Profil ebenfalls in den Shownotes. Es würde mich freuen, wenn du mir da folgst. Auf meiner Seite findest du auch hilfreiche Coachings, Tools. Ach, heute habe ich es nicht so mit dem Sprechen irgendwie. Genau, und und was ich noch sagen wollte. Wie findest du die Idee von so einem Women Circle? Schreib mir das gerne über mein Instagram-Profil. Hast du schon mal an einem Woman Circle teilgenommen? Würde dich sowas mal interessieren? @miapapo, einfach zusammengeschrieben, miapapo. Findest du mich auf Instagram. Ich wünsche dir noch einen wundervollen Tag. Vielen Dank nochmal fürs Einschalten. Amen und Namaste, deine Mia. Tschüss.